Hello, and welcome back to my GTNH playthrough. It is Friday, June 12th, and we are over here by the Nano Assembly Complex. This guy is primarily what I got done today, is setting this up specifically for optical circuits, so let's just get right into it. First off, so where I left off yesterday, I basically just threw down the multi-block, used a schematic thing to build it, didn't have any of the modules set up. And then last night I went through and constructed all the blocks for all the modules because I kind of just by default assumed I needed everything. So I've got a bunch of spare blocks, but that's fine. We'll use them elsewhere. And then I started looking into how this works. So basically, really rough overview is this thing is like a unlimited parallel beast for crafting circuits all the way through the different types. But you get benefits if you're isolating it to one type, where once you craft like a certain amount, and I should have had the wiki up to be able to say the exact amount, but essentially I believe it works off 100,000 circuits, and once you're like 20% of the last amount and 50% and yada yada, you get bonuses. So for like optical circuits, this module over here also takes input ingredients, but it also uses different grades of water, and those grades of water apply bonuses to the craft. So one of the optical benefits, if you get high enough for it just crafting optical circuits, is it'll use the bonuses of the water twice, for example. But so the way this works is actually pretty similar to, what is it? What did you say? It's like I was gonna say the space elevator, but I don't know if that's a apt comparison. It's kind of, I don't know. It's similar in the sense that you only power the center structure, and then I'm trying to think. I feel like I had a better comparison before, but whatever. It doesn't matter what it's like. So the way it works is kind of like I said. You power the center structure. So in this case, I've got gave it a capacitor for wireless capacity. I did originally set this up with 1,000 amp UEV, and then when I was reading on how it works and how it like goes for speed, because it honestly felt kind of slow, and I definitely wasn't using nearly the amount of power that I could put into this guy, I swapped him over to 256 UIV, which is the same amount of power but just a higher tier, and that allows for more overclocks and parallel, or at least more overclocking, so we can actually take more advantage of the amount of power we can give this thing right now. I believe you need UHV to actually fire it off. But so obviously you gotta make patterns. Now it took me a bit to get this guy set up, because so the way it works, and I'm just gonna use the schematic from the Wikipedia, or the wiki for it to describe it. So looking at this, we got the Nanochip Assembly Complex by Fox. Essentially, you create your patterns. They go into the main complex here, and then from the main complex, this guy describes it as send the parts out to nanopart splitters, and then the nanopart splitters will then further spread it out to the other modules. Then ultimately, all of them go into the Nanochip assembly matrix, and then they make their way back to the complex itself. Now, this is a very simplified view of it, and isn't quite reality of what you actually need to do. So now if we hop over to the optical one, let me pull this up real quick. Optical, here it is. We essentially make the 4 patterns that are over here on the left. We put those in the center building. It doesn't show it in this diagram. Essentially imagine the center building as being the first thing on any one of these lines. Like the start of any line would be, colored line would be the main central building. It goes into the central building. Then from the central building, we can send it directly to the modules, because the central building itself actually converts them into the item type that the complex actually reads. They go to their modules. They run their recipe in said module. Then they do all go to the assembly matrix. And in one case, if you look down at the bottom right, we got the nanometer encasement wrapper to another nanometer encasement wrapper back to the central building. Same with nano precision cutting chamber to the nano wrapper, back to the assembly matrix, and then out to the central building. So when I was first looking at this, I was a little concerned that if we were going to have to like build one of these for each level of circuit or what, because it felt like the recipes are going to mix. They don't. That does seem to all work just fine. The way it ultimately plays out is, and it'll make more sense from downstairs, but show this off real quick upstairs, is we have our 4 patterns up here, which we made, and you can use that diagram that I just showed. Again, it shows all 4 patterns as you need to set them up. They are, or how I originally did it, and if you're doing it like me, just be aware there is one mistake with this. You can use the patterns that are in here for like the circuit assembler, like this one ends up lining out except for the amount of mutated living solder. This is wrong here. And then over here for like say the mainframe, this assembly line recipe is actually right, except for that the Nanoplex uses radon, not radon plasma. I don't know if that's a mistake. That'll change, and I'll keep an eye on it for like when the beta version changes and stuff. But you do use radon instead of radon plasma for the Nanochip, and we can actually see this here in the Nanochip matrix. We go radon here. So I don't know if that's intentional or not a big deal, but if you do, you can use this pattern, just decrease the circuits by 2 and then swap the amount radon over, and that is the same thing as well. But we put the patterns in here, we send them into this little sub network. I threw a bunch of storage in here for future proofing. Then from here we send all the different parts into the different stocking input buses, which are all differently colored. I clicked on light gray and gray so it doesn't emphasize it as much, but and then again, if you go back over to the diagram, you can see all the different stuff spread out. You can also get all this stuff from NEI. It's just a little more painful. Say, like, example, we got this advanced mainframe in NEI. We click on it. It says nano encasement wrapper. Okay, these are not items that we can directly put into here. So like this one, the splice tritanium, we click on this and we go, here's the package tritanium. So this would be a case where it goes into the cutting machine, to an encasement wrapper, to the assembly matrix, and then back to the central controller. But from like the way it looks up here, we go input pattern, tritanium block into this input bus, and then all the stuff spread out into their respective colors of input buses. They then get put down into the same color output bus down here, and then you follow these vacuum tubes. So doing the tritanium one again, which I believe is the pink line, the tritanium frame box comes down, follows this vacuum line over to this module, or this module is the cutting machine. Then the cutting machine will output what came in from the pink input to the pink output. So then it gets run over to the encasement wrapper, and then you might notice, I don't have a pink out. That's because if we look at the splice frame box recipe, it then turns into this mainframe circuit encasement. But when the nano encasement, obviously these are different inputs, it will output on the color of the first item in the recipe that it came in on. So in this case, these wrap spools come from a different encasement wrapper, which come from, so in this case would be the light gray line, or the gray line here, excuse me. So if we were to follow from here, there's a gray line, comes to this wrapper, this creates the spools, it kicks over to this wrapper where it combines the spools with the tritanium frame, and then from here, if we follow the gray line, it comes over to the assembly matrix. And now once all the pieces make their way to the assembly matrix, it does the craft, and then it kicks it out here based on, again, whatever the first on the line that the first one is. And this was another one of the mistakes I started off with. I originally had one output because I assumed everything came in on this, but the way they've done the recipes, they've actually made it so they don't conflict with each other. All 4 recipes have something. 4 circuit recipes have a different first item in the recipe, so all 4 of these will be different colors based on whichever color the first item is in. Like in this case, the optical circuit thing is on the green, so that came in on green, and that's the first item in the optical circuit recipe. Here we go. It's the optically perfected CPU, sorry. So that comes in on the green, then this recipe runs in the assembly matrix, and then it kicks it out on this guy's channel because it was the first item here. We follow the green back, it comes here, and then there are 4 colored output buses up there, back into the main network, and then the craft is done. The only other things that we kind of got going on for it, the cutting machine needs lubrication, and then for this guy's block, it also needs the grade 4 water, so that's right there. You can technically throw that into the recipe. I think on the diagram it actually has that as part of the recipe. I didn't want to do that. Maybe if this ever causes an issue in the future, I might, but over here for the optical guy, we've got the 2 different grades of water it's using for bonuses. And then down here in the optical matrix, we've got, this is for circuit boards. This guy takes prismatic acid because it's the optical circuit line. This would take different fluids if it was being used for a different circuit. And then this one apparently eventually needs to flush itself, but I just put it at automatically flush at 100% and see what happens. I might change that to a lower number later just to see how it actually works, because basically this guy will start using more power. It doesn't actually consume this until everything's flushed, I think is my understanding, but not quite 100% on that mechanic and whether having a lower flush level is better to keep the power down or what. But again, I can't use the full power that I can offer this currently, so I'm not too stressed about that. Then over here, this guy on the assembly matrix has the input for all the different fluids and the actual patterns. So again, like here, obviously it's these 4 fluids get put in just via a normal input stocking hatch. And yeah, that is how this guy works. I have a bunch of crafts running. I don't think anything's in here. Oh, I put this ethereal glass here because I built this out in the forest. My plan is to kind of go up this valley and like connect these parts, and there's just a lot of pigs here, and they kept getting in the way while I was doing stuff, so I threw down some ethereal glass to keep them out of the main room. It does not look like I have anything coming in currently, but because I finally got this set up, I did set up and fire off again for like the 4th time now the UIV component craft to get the UIV component assembly line set up. That's going to feel so good when I finally do, because between moving all the circuits onto here and then doing that for some of the other circuits, which is something I want to do, as well as getting the UIV component line set up, I'm going to free up so many energy hatches. So that'll feel like I'm rich for a little bit after that. Just weird little things that like caught me off guard for the setup after I finally got a handle on what I was doing is this definitely, I will say, for like if you're trying to pre-craft before you start building, you need a lot more vacuum input outputs than I realized, because for every module needs at least 1 input, 1 output, which makes sense. Some of them are going to need multiple in, multiple out. So like in this case, this encasement guy needed 5 things altogether. Down here we're going to need 4 outputs. Also for that assembly matrix, the other thing that I messed up for and it wasn't crafting at first is it does have a tiered component, which is the component assembly line casings. In this case, for the optical assembly line, we need to use UHV cases. Originally, when I built this, I just looked at the first one and had LV cases. I should have been suspicious as soon as I saw that. Trying to think if there's anything else that threw me off. Nah, I think everything else went pretty smooth once I got cracking on actually like doing this. So this was basically it for me today. I had random other improvements throughout the base. Like I've been saying, I keep finding invalid patterns in 82, so I've been pulling those out. I redid a circuit assembly line in the main base to clean that up, and I've been slow. Whenever I mess around with a block, I change it out to use buffer and stuff. Oh, actually, sorry. There is one more thing with this particular. So if you're looking back at that diagram, it has on there to rename some of the foils. So we've got unnamed foils, and I think it's over here, named foils. I did throw some forming presses in here specifically just for those two foils and threw them up to UHV power just so I wasn't waiting on them. Because my original renaming thing for circuits, you don't really have that many circuits you need to rename, so I wasn't ever worried about the speed, but I did not want this to be a bottleneck for me once I started able to craft more of these faster. Right now it's pretty slow, so wouldn't it be a bottleneck? You can see I've got a bunch of stuff going. This craft's been going for a little over an hour now. A couple of this stuff I just need to click on and kind of help assist it along. I know for mass production, the next thing I want to do is throw down a bunch of forming presses for foils, because I swear these things are messed up and something's wrong with my current setup and it's been in constant pain, but we'll get that taken care of. Every time I see little things like this where it's just like 100 left, I just re-request the craft. Also, I didn't know till looking at random other stuff the other day that you can just middle click to re-request stuff. So that's really cool. We need 15 million infinity, so that'll be a little bit. For the actual weekend, though, I do want to set up a second one of these specifically for special circuits, because that's how we get our UMV circuits. So it should be a pretty similar setup. And then I also want to make this guy actually operational, because it's set up and it's got hydrogen coils. It's not on. There's nothing over here. I was basically waiting on some UHV capacitors, which I got 3. I need 1 more. I had 4. I had this crafted already, but I ended up using one of them somewhere, because I'll get to that in a second. But basically, I need 4 because I want to set these guys up to be able to run and not worry about running out of power if they're all running at the same time. And then the goal will be set this one up for infinity, set the next one up for hydrogen, set the next one up for space-time, just put a priority on throwing these guys down in passive crafting, infinity, hydrogen, space-time for me. And then just throughout the base doing fixing and finishing, actually setting up random stuff I've been crafting. So for example, after I got the Nanochip complex set up, I technically did do something else, which was set up the second Spinmatron thing. This one right now, the only thing it is doing for me is running through my Infinity Catalyst combs, because to fire off that UEV component recipe, I needed more Infinity Catalyst, which I didn't have enough, and I was like, okay, I just need to throw this down. I had it all crafted days ago and just keep getting distracted by other stuff. So I want to route more stuff into here, throw some priorities up, but this guy will help speed up B processing a lot. And then, yeah, just little things like that. I've got a bunch of random stuff I've crafted and just not set up. So I kind of need to make a checklist for myself while the component blocks are assembling or being crafted, and just do that. Just to give an example, the polarizer, like I wonder why there's only 6. There should be 7 of these crafted. I don't really know where weird. But, like I crafted a bunch of these and all the associated blocks for it. Even got the 10 gam little. Why is there only 6 again? That's so weird. I don't know why it's only 6 instead of 7. Interesting. And yeah, from there, we'll see from there. On the shorter horizon, I'd also like to set up some more QFTs. I've said that a few times. And then I think the next big goal will be one of these two. This guy is not locked by the Mark V Fusion, but I have a feeling from the way the quest book is set up that Mark V Fusion is needed for it. But either way, I think like a combo goal, and then I'll fixate down on more so on whichever one once I figure out what's truly going on here, of either whether to go Mark V next or to the Forge of the Gods, which I also need to figure out where I'm even going to stick this sucker whenever I do craft it, because it's massive. But yeah, problems for the future. Anyways, a pretty good week of progress. I've been really enjoying 2.9 so far. And really, I highly recommend upgrading to it. It's worth the random things that break, because the random things that break are not too bad, except for maybe the water line. That was probably the most painful thing that broke of the group. But anywho, hope you had a good day, and I hope everybody has a good weekend. I will see you next week. Goodbye.